The James Show Podcast.
Sorry, I didn't realize how bad I sounded until I had to listen to myself through headphones. I feel fine. I am a completely healthy guy, not on any prescriptions, never go to the doctor or whatever. But I do have this weird thing where I am stuffed up for about a week or two in the fall and in the spring. It's like some sort of equinox-triggered allergy. I don't know what it is, but I promise I feel fine. I feel great. I'm not sick at all. So don't think I'm going to give you the next variant of COVID through the microphone here. It's just allergies. I promise I'm fine. Jimmy Kimmel coming back on tonight. And there's a big caveat to that. I don't know if you realize how tenuous his situation still is. Now, of course, the media is very pro Kimmel. They see him as a fellow traveler, a comrade in arms. And I'm not sure he'll survive this. They're acting like, whoa, it's a done deal. It's like, well, free speech wins the day. A couple of takes on this first before I even get into my explanation on why I think he still might be circling the drain is a lot of people owe us an apology for saying, I told you Trump's a dictator. He's a fascist. He's literally Hitler. He's forcing a private company to fire someone based just because he doesn't like their politics. That's what Hitler would do. That's what dictators do. Well, it turns out he must not have done that. I guess we don't live in a dictatorship now, do we? Take it back. No, they're not going to. And I don't expect them to. You and I can sort of just kind of high five through the radio here. They were wrong again about everything. But we're in a situation where, listen, he's coming back. But I'm not sure if he's going to survive. Because when you look at the ABC affiliates, the big two companies that own the stations that carry the affiliates. Remember, the ownership of the station is a completely separate ball of wax from the network. The network provides the programming, independent owners. Because I worked for Nexstar, and when I was there, we had two stations. One of them was an ABC, and one of them was a Fox affiliate. And not ABC, I'm sorry. We were NBC and a Fox affiliate. And so these TV operators are actually pretty much all open to all the networks. It's just whatever fits in. And hey, I got a deal on a TV station in this town. Or any of the networks open, or are they already taken? Can I steal the license from someone else? And the two big ones, Nexstar and Sinclair, said that they're going to preempt this programming. Now, if they keep doing this, that's going to kill the show. I'm telling you right now, no one's saying that in the news because they don't want to admit how fragile that their situation is, how tenuous their grasp on the media is. They want you to think it's just a done deal. But it's not. You know, between these carriers, and if Nexstar gets to gobble up Tegna, then they're going to have something to the effect of 100 or so affiliates somewhere in that neighborhood. And the Jimmy Kimmel Show cannot survive if a big chunk, like a third of the affiliates in the ABC broadcast world, are refusing to air his show. We've never seen this. I can't recall this. But, I mean, I have seen sort of on the front end. I used to work for owner of TV stations called Tribune. And then Nexstar did exactly what they're trying to do now to Tegna. They came in and bought us up, and we turned into Nexstar, and it was a whole thing. So I've seen what this process looks like. And there was a lot of people pointing out the fact that FCC has to sign off on this. And they do. I don't like that, but that's how it operates under both administrations. It really bothers me that the federal government gets to axe some of these deals. But that's the world we live in. And so, no, I'm not scared or confounded or clutching my pearls over the idea that the FCC might not like this merger for political reasons. It's wrong, and I wish it wasn't that way, but that's what happens under any administration. That's nothing specific or scary about Trump. That's what every administration does. So I just keep an eye on this, because if they hold out, if Sinclair and Nexstar hold out, I think they can sink Kimmel. I think maybe this will be an interesting power struggle between the people who own the stations and the networks that provide the programming. Because the networks that provide the programming have always been the boss. But we're in a business of changing rules. Radio is going through this. Everybody that is watching a YouTube video now, or watching something that's a video that's going through their Instagram feed or their Twitter feed or their Facebook feed or whatever feed you're on, TikTok, That used to be eyeballs that were on TV. Every time someone listens to a podcast, that used to be ears that were on radio. So we're in a declining business. We call this the linear feed. We do linear audio. Television networks do linear video. And our audience and our share of the market has been shrinking. Now, we make up for that because you can still find us on YouTube and Facebook and all these other places. So we're kind of making it up there. But there's just not the money that's getting poured into TV stations and TV networks like there was 10, 20 years ago. That used to be the only game in town. It used to be TV, radio, newspaper. That controlled the entire media output for a market. Internet changed all that. So, no, I'm not scared that you see a couple of big corporations gobbling up TV stations on the cheap as the industry dwindles. No, that's kind of normal, and it sort of sounds like what it would have to do to survive just based on your regular economic understanding of the world. Yeah, the market for that product is smaller, so the number of companies that are participating in that industry doesn't bother me if it's fewer. A lot of people are trying to make something scary about that, like we live in some sort of Hitlerian dictatorship. This kind of proves them wrong, doesn't it? He'll be back on tonight. I'm not going to watch it, I don't think. I never do, so it's not like an insult to him. But I imagine if he says something interesting, I'll see it float through the social media feed, and I'll play it for you tomorrow. But just remember, whenever they quietly let him walk off into the night here in about 6 months or a year or so, this is why. Whatever excuse they give you at the time, that's not it. It's going to be this, and it's going to be the just devastating combination of being unpopular, being apolitical or anti-political, like political into a degree that causes headaches for the powers that be. Ratings, revenue. That's it. Look, this will actually mean something. If he comes out there, is he going to do an apology? And if he does an apology, is it going to be a legit apology that he wrote, or is it going to be a hostage video that the lawyers wrote? Is he going to change his tune? Is he still going to call you Hitler? Is he still going to be dismissive about the murder of someone who shares the beliefs of half of the country over those beliefs? Because I try and think of Jimmy Kimmel against the context that you and I grew up in. You know Johnny Carson, right? You think Johnny Carson would ever say something like this, what Jimmy Kimmel said about Tucker Carlson?
The good news is now Tucker can spend more time at home tanning his testicles and touching himself to that sexy green M&M. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know.
I don't remember Johnny Carson ever saying someone came out of Satan's fiery beehole. Do you? Does that sound like something Johnny Carson would ever say? Do you think he would just flat out be that mean about somebody? That's not even funny. That's just mean. There's no joke there. There's no turn of a phrase. There's no pun. There's no misdirection. You're just laughing because he said the meanest thing possible, because it was as insulting as possible to Tucker Carlson. That sentence right there it should be your litmus test. It should be your yardstick on whether or not this guy has changed. Is he still going to tell non-jokes like that? Just because it got laughs doesn't mean it was a joke. This is not a joke. Listen to this. This isn't a joke at all. This is just insults.
The good news is now Tucker can spend more time at home tanning his testicles and touching himself to that sexy green M&M. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know.
Yeah, that's not funny. You got to do better than that. It's just mean. Like, you're a comedian. You're supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be lighthearted. You're supposed to, not just be mean. I don't know. I guess there's like a place for that if you're like an Andrew Dice Clay or a Dennis Leary, but this is the Tonight Show. I think Fallon handled it way better. Remember, Jimmy Fallon was actually funny when he was talking about Jimmy Kimmel getting suspended last week. Here's an example. Example.
A lot of people are worried that we won't keep saying what we want to say or that we'll be censored. but I'm going to cover the president's trip to the UK just like I normally would. Here we go. Well, guys, President Trump just wrapped up his 3-day trip to the UK, and he
looked incredibly handsome.
See, there's a bit in there. There's actually a misdirection. He's making fun of the new censorship regime and acting like he signed up for it and he's getting censored, but he's okay with it. That's fun. There's something intellectual there. There's a little misdirection. There's a surprise, not just climbed out of Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came. I want to see a new Jimmy Kimmel. I want to see Jimmy Kimmel. This may sound crazy after what we've just experienced the last week. I want to see Jimmy Kimmel change. I want to see Jimmy Kimmel keep his job. I want to see Jimmy Kimmel earn the right to keep his job by stopping with the Satan's beehole references, by stopping with the just overt negative political hate on his show. Remember, this is what got him suspended in the first place. I don't want to hear anything like this again.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing,
hang on, look, notice it. He just said a 15-minute political charge statement. There was no joke there. It wasn't the setup for a joke. It didn't do a 15-minute setup and then, here's something funny. No, they had a new low over the weekend by trying to claim he was something other than one of them. And then he just moves to like a joke. I can't wait to see. I'm not going to watch. But we'll see. We'll see if he changes. We'll see if he changes for the better. And all I'm looking for, really, the basics that I'm looking for the change out of anybody, whether it's Jimmy Kimmel or an AOC or a Jasmine Crockett or anyone on CNN or MSNBC, I'm going to call this the John Fetterman rule, Senator Fetterman rule. The guy on the Democrats that makes the most sense is the dude who's brain damaged from a stroke. Isn't that amazing? But just don't call anybody Hitler.
Do not ever compare anyone to Hitler. If not, go online and you can read up on exactly what he's responsible for. 75 to 80 million lives lost in World War II, and you don't compare him to anyone. And if you do, then you will incite somebody to say, well, now I feel like I have to stop that and take them out. People have seemed to have forgotten that the president took a shot to the head.
Wow. The brain damage guy makes more sense out of anyone else on Team Blue when it comes to this. Well, I take that back. He's not the only one saying that. But John Fetterman's the only senator I saw saying that. I saw some other House representatives that you wouldn't recognize saying that. Seen some local people saying that. Saw Bill Maher saying that. So this is a chance here. This is a real chance for something that, Christians, you might want to, drop your grudge. Do what Erica Kirk did. Forgive this guy. Give him a chance. Let him turn it around. Because what if Jimmy Kimmel does turn over a new leaf? And what if he does get embraced by people who were cheering for his demise just this last 6 days? That's something that could persuade him to change his mind. This is how you win people over. Eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. But turning the other cheek, will that win over Jimmy Kimmel? It's going to be real interesting to find out. The other interesting thing to find out is, do we have a marketplace for celebrating death? If he doesn't change and he stays on this road, what if his ratings go up after this? Michael Knowles was talking about this new marketplace of celebrating death.
I've heard this from so many people. They say, Michael, something that scandalizes me most about Charlie's assassination is that I logged onto Facebook and people I grew up with, people I used to work with, are happy about it. Multiple people have said this to me. I bet it's true of you too. Charlie being so mainstream, being relatively moderate, being so genteel, being so polite, being so nice. If they would celebrate his murder, they'd celebrate my murder. If they would justify his murder, they'd justify my murder. I thought these people were my friends. I thought they were my family. I thought I grew up with them. You cannot have a society like that. And we need some standards back in our society. And we need some rules around the marketplace. All marketplaces need rules. In order for a marketplace to flourish, you have to feel that your life is not imperiled by walking into one. That's what is called for right now. That is the necessary step that most people, I think, are missing to arrive at the ideal that they like of a society in which people can have a healthy exchange of ideas.
Yeah, and Nicholas over here on Facebook left a comment on the video stream right now that says Kimmel apologized in the past for doing blackface comedy in the 90s. That was on The Man Show. Why can't he apologize now? He can. If it's a legit apology, I think it could go a long way. I'm willing to give the guy another shot. I don't hate him. I just wish he would go back to being the Jimmy Kimmel I liked. I liked him better on The Man Show. I liked him better when the Jimmy Kimmel Live first started. I've heard some of his old radio bits from when he was on the radio in Los Angeles. He's one of us. Radio guy's not, he's still a liberal and whatnot. You got to worry about everything. The sun will give you cancer, then the sunscreen will give you cancer, and then aspartame will give you cancer, and then Splenda will give you cancer. Sugar will give you diabetes. So as if there's not enough things to worry about in this world when it comes to health, now do we have to start worrying about Tylenol? This is President Trump yesterday in a press conference.
Don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant, and don't give Tylenol to your child when he's born or she's born. Don't give it. Just don't give it. And we're going to have, I think, really, if you do all the things that I say, break it up, just break it up, break up the shots with the doctor. MMRs, as I told you, separate. Chickenpox already separate. You do these things. I'm telling you, when I leave office, I don't want to have, it's going to be the kind of number that we're hearing where it's 1 in 32 or 1 in 10, because I've heard 1 in 10 also. And in California, it's really bad. I want it to be, let's get it back to maybe 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 or maybe none in 20,000. And the only way you're going to do that, because this is artificially induced. This is induced by something. You don't go from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000, then to 1 in 10. That means you're taking something and something's wrong.
Yeah, sounds like something's wrong. Is it Tylenol? I don't know, but I think it's worth looking into. I think it's better to look into it than say, nah, nothing's wrong. Nah, we just have autism now. Deal with it. Because one of the common pushbacks to this is, no, we've always had this much. We're just better at diagnosing it. Or we're, a little broader in our definition of autism. But that would only make sense if the numbers were the same across the age groups, and they're not. In fact, they're not at all. In fact, RFK kind of blew my mind yesterday when he said there's no one his age with autism. I didn't know that.
But also it's just common sense. Because you're only seeing this in people who are under 50 years of age. If it were better recognition or diagnosis, you'd see it in 70-year-old men. I've never seen this happening in people my age. I've never seen a case of full-blown autism, and that means profound autism. I want to be very careful. Head-banging, stimming, toe walking, nonverbal, non-toilet trained. I've never in my life seen a 70-year-old man who looks like that. You're only seeing it in the kids. It's an epidemic.
I didn't know that. If you're 70 years old or somewhere around 70, you didn't have any autistic kids in your elementary school growing up? We did. We had some of the headbangers. And I'm talking about the ones that bang their head, like literally, not like Pantera listeners or whatever. I know. But we did. Y'all didn't? This is a new thing? Because that's kind of a defining variable here. If it is just where we're overdiagnosing it now, well, then how come there's no 70-year-olds that get diagnosed with this severe form of autism? And when he says stimming, the people that make noises or have to tap something, stimulation, they need constant stimulation. Stimming. Like people my dad's age, y'all didn't have those in your class growing up? Because I remember we had some of those. I know this sounds really base, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, but I just feel like when I was growing up and when I was real young, like in the 80s, there was a lot more people who were mentally retarded too. And they didn't show up at school a whole lot, but you'd see them at church. You'd see them at the grocery store. You'd see them in public. You'd see them at the DMV. You'd see them whenever Walmart finally came to town. Yeah, that's how old I am. So all this talk about autism, a lot of people are blaming the vaccines. This is the first I've heard of anyone blaming Tylenol. And then we started to get into, I was doing some deep dives into this show trying to understand some of this medicine more. And we'll talk to a doctor in the next segment to break it down more. But allow me to be a little immature for a second. It kept reminding me of the Saturday Night Live skit where the lady from accounting accused a drug company of stealing her family's names for the names for their drugs.
Sir, let me give you an example. In December 2004, this company created a drug called Seasonique. Well, back in 1997, I had a child. Please say hello to Seasonique.
Hello. Your name is Seasonique?
Yes, sir. My name is Seasonique Boniva Williams.
That's right. Seasonique was born on the one special day between spring and summer. She was Seasonique. And that's not the only example. This company has named dozens of their drugs after members of my family.
Mrs. Williams.
Please, call me Lyrica. That's my name, but it's also an anti-epilepsy drug.
That's certainly interesting.
Please, we have a whole team that names our products according to years of research. This is clearly a coincidence.
Oh, really? Well, let's look at some other examples, shall we? Celexa.
That's my cousin.
Famara.
My other cousin.
Eliquis. She lives down the way.
Over there.
Cymbalta.
She's trouble, but she's fun.
Allegra. Now, she does my hair, and she don't have a shop, so I go to her house, where she has a little baby named Little Nicorette.
Nicorette. Okay. We'll have a serious discussion about this next. I actually have a doctor coming on, someone with medical training, so you don't have to hear just some talk show host to just invent it on the fly. Dr. Matt Chalmers. Hey, welcome back, Dr. Matt. What do you think? Does Tylenol cause autism?
So Tylenol doesn't cause autism. What it does is it depletes the body of glutathione, and your body uses glutathione to detoxify things like heavy metals.
Well, that's all you had to say, the old glutathione. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. It was whatever, though. What's glutathione?
Your body uses glutathione to kind of wash off and detoxify and denature toxins like heavy metals. And vaccines have a lot of heavy metals and purposely inflammatory products in them. And so when it gets to the brain, if we don't have enough glutathione, we can't clean that stuff off, and it sits and it damages the brain for a lot longer than it's supposed to. And that's where we start seeing the damage.
Okay. So when did we start using Tylenol?
Well, Tylenol, depending on when we're using it or what we're using it for, usually Motrin will break a fever as well as you get further on, which is similar. But at the end of the day, you can use it when they're 6, 7, 8. Just make sure that you're replenishing the glutathione levels in these kids. NAC or N-acetylcysteine is a great option to help bring up the glutathione levels in both pregnant women and children.
Whoa, so say those words again. These are new words.
Sorry, N-acetylcysteine or NAC. It's a supplement.
NAC? Can I just call it NAC?
You sure can.
All right. So what do you get? Do you get NAC at the grocery store? Where do I get NAC?
Depends on where you're going. We have it on the website. A lot of health food places or supplement places, guys who do natural healthcare carry it. It's in several of our products.
So RFK says he's 70 years old. He doesn't know anybody his age that has severe autism, like wearing the helmet, stimming, beating your head. Nonverbal. I wasn't aware of that. I know some people who are my age who have severe autism. Do older people not have that?
The amount of people who are 67 years old who have autism versus the ones who are 6 or 7 right now, it's much, much lower. The amount of autism we have today is wildly higher than we had back when RFK was 6 or 7 years old. There's a lot of factors that play into that, though. It's not just Tylenol. It's the lack of nutrition in our food. It's the high stress. It's the high chemical overload we have. And it's the fact that the kids can't detox any of the waste that we're sticking in them.
And Tylenol kind of contributes to that.
Yeah, the easiest way to think of Tylenol is, so if you go out in the woods and you get a bunch of logs, and you light a match and you throw it at the logs, it might start it on fire. If you dose those logs in gasoline, there's a much higher chance we're going to get a fire. And so when we radically reduce the body's defense system to a toxin, then give the toxin, the chances of damage are much, much higher.
Where's all these toxins coming from?
Oh, man, there's lots. Like you got glyphosate in the food. You have atrazine in the water. You've got all the processed chemicals that are in our food, water, and air. Stress creates its own chemicals. So if moms are under psychological stress, which most of them are, you're going to have issues there. Like we do a whole big detoxifying, nutritional fill of women when they want to get pregnant to avoid these issues. But, that's the big issue is we have way too many chemicals that are poisoning us than we do nutrients to avoid them.
All right, new people, we're talking with Dr. Matt Chalmers from chalmerswellness.com about the press conference yesterday where Trump said don't take acetaminophen/Tylenol if you're pregnant or if your child's really young. Now, he was specific about those demographics. Is Tylenol safe for someone my age?
It's much safer, especially if you're doing the maintenance on it. Keeping, like I said, the NAC, the glutathione levels up where they're supposed to be, keeping your methylated B vitamins in your body, that'll help as well. Now, I do want to make a comment on that one. The drug that they're talking about to help prevent and reverse autism is folic acid. The problem with that is at least 40% of our population has a genetic defect where they don't utilize folic acid very well. So it's not going to help them. Those people all need to be taking the fully methylated version, which is L-methyl tetrahydrofolate, or the fully methylated version of folic acid.
I hear you. Well, the folic acid is something that my wife took when she was pregnant, so I guess that's widely known.
It should be. The fact that not everybody can use the same version of folic acid is not as well known. It's becoming much better known now. But the whole brain and spinal cord, what we call the neural tube, is formed with folic acid. So it's really important to have even before conception.
Well, I think the most important advice you can give right now is the alternatives. What were those alternatives again? If you are pregnant or you do have a baby and you don't want to give them Tylenol anymore, you don't want to take Tylenol anymore, what do you take to get rid of a fever?
There's a couple of different things you can do. With babies, you can do colonic irrigations, which is you take, warm saline and you put it into the rectum and it helps cool the baby down. That's probably one of my favorites. It works really, really quick and doesn't have any problems. Depending on the child, Motrin is an option if you have to. But a lot of times with the fevers, as long as they don't get over 103, you're fine. So let the body do what it's designed to do. Just sit and watch it. And if it's at 101, 101.5, that's fine. When it gets to 103, that's when we need to take steps to start bringing it down.
All right. Now, Motrin's just ibuprofen, right?
It is.
Okay. So ibuprofen, people like to learn these generic names, I guess. All right. So what did I not ask that I need to know?
That's the big thing. The big thing is that we need to start detoxing the body. Now, one of the big things that we want to kind of let people understand is that it's a mix of all the different toxins that are in the environment, compared with the body's not having enough nutrients to fix it. So it's not going to be one thing. Like everybody's looking for a smoking gun, like it's only vaccines or it's only Tylenol or it's only this thing. It's not. It's the mix of how many toxins do we have versus how many nutrients do we have. We get those things balanced, it will help out, but keeping the toxins out is going to be probably the best option.
Thank you very much. This is Dr. Matt Chalmers. I appreciate it, sir. Find him at chalmerswellness.com. He's a local doctor. He's here in town. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Anytime.
And he's absolutely jacked, so don't make him mad or he'll throw you through the drywall. Real quick, let me squeeze in a phone call here. This is Cleo in Plano. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James, I'm really glad you had that doctor on because that's what I was going to say. It's like as much as I love President Trump, I work with so many children and mothers that I don't feel like it was just one thing. And he already kind of covered everything I would say, including, about the methyl folate and everything else. So,
well, you're a lactation consultant, so we know you see a lot of these babies and probably have a super interest in all this. Do you think Trump was generally correct and RFK generally correct yesterday?
I'm kind of going to go down where the doctor said. I think it's a whole host of factors because if you look at the fact that so many people between the ages of 0 to 50 have such a large increased risk of colon cancer, and there's so many cancers too, not just autism, that are rampant now in children. So you have to ask, what are we doing wrong? Are we giving them too much pre-processed foods? Because a lot of people do, and we get to the point in society that we now have whole recipes that are built around processed foods, and people don't seem to understand that they're putting a lot of toxins in their body, and they don't.
That's better than my guess.
I'm going to throw in formula. Formula is baby's first processed food, and it causes inflammation of the gut. It causes a leaky gut, which makes it harder for children to have a normal immune system. People go, my child is perfectly normal. No, you're used to seeing a westernized child and a child that you always take to the doctor because he's sick, But it's normal because all of your friends' kids are sick because the majority of people don't breastfeed for a year or longer.
All right. Well, that makes sense. That's Cleo in Plano. I thought you got it from toilet seats as well. I'm kidding. Coming up next, what did Jasmine Crockett say this time? Well, it's why she voted against the resolution honoring Charlie Kirk. You'll hear it next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.